Canada. We are anonymous.
Their message is blunt and unapologetic.
We are a force to be reckoned with. Anonymous has a goal that needs to be achieved. Nothing will stop us from achieving that certain goal. We will go after anyone that we feel needs to be taught a lesson.
And they mean it. This is Anonymous, a secretive, leaderless hacker collective. Anonymous represents a new kind of hacker, the activist, dramatic, political, and very public, posting their videos on YouTube. But hacking existed long before Anonymous. The explosion of the internet brought the explosion of hacking and hacker culture, with its own rules, hierarchy, and code. And there are different kinds of hacking. Some are criminal, others political, and some actually hacking for good.
The line is a really tough one to draw, but hacking is anyone.
There's good hackers, there's bad hackers, there's hackers who do what they do in order to find out vulnerabilities and weaknesses in applications and computer systems in order for us to be better protected. And then there's bad hackers who use it for, making a name for themselves or just making money.
Regardless of motivation, all hacking relies on a powerful set of skills that both build and dismantle, a game of cat and mouse where the stakes have never been higher and the rules are tested, yet still undefined.
There is this battle between good and evil going on.
This is a $1 billion plus industry in North America alone in terms of cyber crimes.
You don't really need to know anything about hacking to be highly successful.
Welcome to the Group 12 IT in the News Project. If you haven't guessed it by now, our presentation to you will be about the ever-increasing threat of cybersecurity and how it impacts today's business environment. Our presentation to you will cover the history of cybersecurity, mainstream threats for 2013, and our recommended solutions. The history of cybersecurity can be traced back to as early as 1945 when Rear Admiral Grace Murray Hopper discovered a moth trapped between relays in a Navy computer. She referred to it as a bug, which was a term used since the late 19th century to refer to problems with electrical devices. In 1963, programmers developed the American Standard Code for Information Interchange, or US ASCII, which was a simple computer language that allowed machines produced by different manufacturers to exchange data. In 1969, ARPANET was launched by the Advanced Research Projects Agency. ARPANET was an early network used by government research groups and universities and the forerunner to the Internet. The early 1970s see a growing trend in the popular subculture of phone phreaks, or phreakers, who use blue boxes as tone generators to make free phone calls. Popular phone phreakers include Steve Wozniak of Apple, who built his own blue box which he sold to fellow UC Berkeley students. With the use of a blue box, phone phreakers could unlock AT&T's phone network to make prank calls or have access to free telephone services. In 1979, engineers at Xerox Palo Alto Research Center discovered the computer worm. A worm is a short program that scours a network for idle processors. It was originally designed to provide more efficient computer use. It is the ancestor of the modern worm, which is a destructive computer virus that alters or erases data on computers. In 1983, the term computer virus is coined by Fred Cohen to describe a computer program that can affect other computer programs by modifying them in such a way as to include a possibly evolved copy of itself. Then, in 1984, the term cyberspace is popularized by author William Gibson, who used the word to describe the network of computers through which the characters in his futuristic novels travel. The first computer virus is released in 1986. Known as the Brain, the virus is released by programmers in Pakistan. The next major cyber attack occurs in 1988. Robert Morris unleashes a worm that invades ARPANET computers and disables roughly 6,000 computers on the network by flooding their memory banks with copies of itself. Morris is fined $10,000 and sentenced to 3 years probation. Finally, in 1991, Norton antivirus software is released by Symantec. This marks the release of one of the first antivirus softwares available. From the 1990s on, cyber attacks have been increasing, with famous attacks including the Solar Sunrise, the Melissa virus, the string of DDoS attacks, the Code Red worm, and the Nimba virus. The list of cyber attacks continues with more and more computers targeted with each attack. In addition to the growth in the number of attacks and the number of infected systems, the sophistication of the attacks continues to increase. As we can see from historical trends, cyber threats are becoming more frequent, more dangerous, and more specialized. There are three focal points in the world of cybersecurity and potential threats as we look forward to 2013. First, the widespread use of multiple new platforms creates new points of attacks for hackers. Second, as exploit kits become more powerful and prevalent while at the same time enabling use by less technically proficient users, attacks are going to increase. Third, we can see from historical trends that attacks are growing in sophistication, often targeting specific organizations or governments. This trend is unlikely to revert, so users and IT managers will need to remain current on trends in cybersecurity assaults. Mobile usage is increasing exponentially, especially as users gain access to smartphones and tablets. In fact, in Australia and the United States, an Android device is more likely to experience a malware attack, whether failed or successful, than a PC over a month-long period. Employers looking to curb costs as the price of new devices continues to rise are turning to Bring Your Own Device, or BYOD policies. Enabling users to access company or government information from personal devices opens up another frontier for cyber attack. Additionally, mobile devices offer unique points of attack due to the microphone and camera hardware inclusions. In addition to data actually stored on or accessed from the device, attackers may be able to use the phone as a surveillance tool to gather more information. Often, cyber exploits take the form of executable files in the PC environment. On mobile devices that allow the usage of apps, security can be more difficult to achieve. Apple's App Store is known for a very strict oversight that has managed to control release of malicious or rogue applications to most iPhone users. Android, now the most popular OS for mobile devices, is not as secure. Users have the ability to download apps from multiple sources and even directly install them on their own. This is a key concern for IT managers considering allowing usage of Android devices for work purposes. Eugene Kaspersky predicts that attacks on the Apple iOS platform will increase now that more software engineers are seeking training for the Mac environment. For example, in early 2012, nearly 500,000 Mac users were infected with the Flashback Trojan. The cloud, perhaps one of the biggest buzzwords of the last year or so, the cloud allows users to access information from almost anywhere. Attackers may choose to exploit this in a variety of ways, stealing or destroying key data, using denial-of-service attacks to prevent legitimate use, or even hijacking cloud traffic and redirecting it to other, potentially more dangerous, malicious content. These attacks can all cause significant disruption to businesses, so IT managers should carefully consider the decision to push forward with cloud computing, particularly in regards to security. Social media is a new platform that allows complete strangers to gain more access to information about others, making the fraud more credible. According to a recent study, as much as 15% of all Facebook users have never even looked at their privacy settings. Similar to older email exploits, social media allows access to an individual's entire social network rather than just their address book. Additionally, the speed of information shared on social networks and the type of information shared tends to make users more curious and susceptible to fraudulent activities, such as the posts that reference, "Did you see this embarrassing photo of user?" and then redirects the user to malicious content. Additionally, sources like LinkedIn provide access to information about where users work and where they attended school, making credible conversations more possible as attackers may pose as alumni or professional associations when attempting to gather information. Foursquare and other check-in functions on social networks provide geolocation tracking for even further exploit, possibly used in combination with other information gathered to access and control bank and financial records and transactions. Offering access to those bordering on the computer illiterate, exploit kits are the readily available equivalent of the For Dummies books series in the cyber assault world. Often found via underground or black market channels, exploit kits are essentially pre-written code that target applications with known security breaches and users who rarely update their software. Generally, the kits require no knowledge of how the exploit works, and users simply deploy them and then log into a landing page that allows access to features like which systems have been attacked, have been successfully exploited, and then enabling monetization of the exploit in several ways. Approximately 70% of all exploit kits currently originate from Russia. Lastly, cyber attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated and often targeted at specific organizations, corporations, or governments. These attacks are gaining popularity because there is significant monetary value that can be associated with cyber attacks, and perhaps more concerning is the ability to capture headlines. Groups of cyber criminals or protesters are loosely claiming the title of hacktivists, targeting government and corporate networks to draw attention to their cause. 2011 and 2012 saw numerous attacks from groups such as Anonymous, introduced in the opening video, and subsequent arrests of hacktivists have taken place. But the reality is that they are likely here to stay into the foreseeable future. Nation-state sponsored attacks, or cyber warfare, has entered the public consciousness. One recent example is that of Stuxnet, a computer worm discovered in 2010, believed to have been created by the United States and Israel to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. One of the more dangerous threats that has come to rise of late is the Advanced Persistent Threat, or APT. APTs are very sophisticated and customized malware exploits that lie dormant for a period of time before wreaking havoc on unsuspecting users. These targeted attacks are significantly more difficult to defend. Whether it's for a hacktivist organization's cause or a state-sponsored assault, one thing is clear, which is that individuals and organizations need to protect themselves and stay current on the latest exploits, techniques, and trends in cybersecurity, as only relying on antivirus software and basic firewalls alone is likely going to be insufficient going forward. In response to these cybersecurity threats, businesses and individuals can implement solutions to increase security for their mobile devices, cloud computing, and personal information found on social media sites. In addition to that, we will discuss how the risk of exploit kits can be mitigated and the recent government involvement in cybersecurity. There are many solutions to protecting users against mobile cybersecurity threats. The first solution is the Equipment Identity Register, which is a nationwide database built and maintained by wireless companies. This database prevents smartphones reported as lost or stolen from being activated for voice and data services by thieves. Next, we have the Password Mobile Device Lock, which is available on almost all smartphones. New features like minimum password length and password complexity requirements have increased mobile security. Users can also remotely lock and remotely wipe their smartphone's data in the event that devices are lost or stolen, with applications like Find My iPhone for iPhones and Remote Lock for the Android phones. Mobile device management software secures, monitors, manages, and supports mobile devices. Companies that implement an MDM policy would require company mobile devices to access information by using a compliant password. This would allow the company to remotely wipe any devices that become compromised. A virtual private network, or VPN, extends a private network and the resources contained in the network across public networks like the Internet. A VPN provides security so that traffic sent through the VPN connection stays isolated from other devices on the public network. There are a variety of encryption options for data that resides on a mobile device. Encryption transforms information, rendering it unreadable to anyone except those possessing the correct login or key information. Likewise, encryption can also be used to protect data in transit as it moves from a mobile device to a mobile network. Next, depending on the operating system, anti-malware and antivirus software may be available to prevent, detect, and remove malware of all descriptions, including viruses, malware, adware, backdoors, Trojan horses, and worms. As companies expand their BYOD policies, they should also look into software solutions that provide a separate and secure virtual environment for BYOD mobile devices. Lastly, since a user's single password can be stolen or guessed, users can use two-factor authentication, which can include a digital identifier or time-based random number in addition to a password. Examples of these two-factor authentications can be found through text messages of random number identifiers commonly used in many mobile banking apps. Companies and organizations looking to migrate to the cloud should ensure that the company they choose has been certified and has successfully passed third-party audits. One such important certification is ISO 27001, which requires that management actively manage information security controls on an ongoing basis as the nature of cybersecurity threats change. Next, it is imperative that the cloud's host has the latest security initiatives in place to protect its infrastructure, to include the facilities, network, and hardware, as well as the operating system. This can be done through employing a variety of the latest IT security standards. To ensure your cloud's host is resilient to hardware failures or cyber attacks, a business continuity management system and plan is important. Such a plan should include an automated process which would move customer data traffic away from servers or data centers that have been compromised. Lastly, network security at cloud services is of the utmost importance. A cloud host's secure network architecture should consist of network devices, including firewall and other boundary devices, that monitor and control communications across the entire network and at key access points. Securing a cloud service's access points allow users to establish secure communication. Cloud hosting can provide transmission protection by connecting to the cloud's access points through a secure sockets layer, or SSL, which is a cryptographic protocol that is designed to protect against eavesdropping, tampering, and message forgery. Here are some tips to help protect yourself from cyber attacks via social media. Protect your passwords by not using the same password for more than one site, and choose one that means something to you only. In particular, don't use your online password for any other site, and be sure to change your passwords frequently. Secure your answers by keeping personal information about yourself private, including family members, school, telephone numbers, exact birth date, and address. And never confirm or update personal information requested via email. This threat is called phishing. Strengthen your settings by setting up privacy restrictions on all social media sites, and reconsider geolocation apps that reveal your physical location. Be less friendly by being skeptical of strange people, posts, pages, and information. Never open emails from strangers, and never click on links or open attachments for unfamiliar sites. It is important to note that 1 in 5 Americans have been the victim of a cybercrime, yet only 15% of all Americans have ever checked to see what their social networking, privacy, and security settings are. When it comes to combating the threat of exploit kits, the first step is to mitigate the risk. This should be a two-pronged approach, starting with assessing your vulnerabilities and performing penetration tests. Penetration tests can help businesses understand weak points by intentionally hacking their own systems before a bad guy does. The second step is to plug the identified holes in your system. This could be as simple as ensuring that all software updates have been deployed on all devices connected to the company's network, ensuring that employees are using a secure browser, and using auto-update features for all computer programs. One way of helping to prevent exploit kits from stealing information is to use techniques like code signing and digital signatures. Code signing allows businesses to protect their users' data from software that has been tampered with by malware. Lastly, security cannot be treated as a set-it-and-forget-it function. All security processes need to be evaluated on a continual basis to ensure your organization is not just protected from the risks of today, but also the threats of tomorrow. With the rising threat of cybercrimes, the United States government has also become involved. In February of this year, President Obama released an executive order designed to strengthen the cybersecurity of American businesses by increasing information sharing between companies. First, the executive order allows U.S. companies to share threat and attack information with each other. This enables companies to learn what is happening to other organizations so that they can better protect themselves from similar threats. Additionally, the order calls for the development of a cybersecurity framework by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This will help reduce cyber risks and prevent attacks by ensuring that a common core of standards is being used across the board. To do this, NIST will work to identify the current consensus standards and incorporate industry best practices into the cybersecurity framework. On behalf of Group 12, I would like to thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions, please leave them on the discussion board page for us to answer. Now, for your viewing pleasure, stay tuned after the references for a top 10 list of computer hackers. Watching this video is optional, of course. Thank you again, and enjoy.
In their indictments, they say I left the networks open to further attack, but the networks were completely open to attack, and I never had to break into them. It was like log and log.